What's good, y'all?
It's Monday.
And you already know we back with another banger
of Making Moguls.
You feel me? We got a special treat for y'all here today.
I hope y'all know. It's Vé Jano, aka King Cosmic. And if you can't find me,
you're not looking hard enough.
And of always, once again, she's back.
I'm back.
The amazing.
It is Empress, where the energy is tasted and the love is felt. We got somebody really special that's going to add to the team of where you either win with us
or you watch us win, baby.
All right.
And I'd like to get into this conversation because my guy, Wealthy Cam, is in the building.
Yes, sir.
And we about to talk some credit.
The king of kings.
And if you ain't got that credit, we gonna debt it, okay? So
we gonna
make sure that we get into this conversation. It's gonna be a beautiful conversation because I mean we had credit, we did a credit couple times on this show, and we're gonna really dive in, we're gonna really drop the gems for them. Because by now, if you're following the podcast, if you're following Making Moguls, then you know that you is gonna get these gems. You need to go back and watch these episodes so you can really tap into this conversation, because we're not doing basic shit no more. We're getting into this conversation, okay?
Yeah.
So my guy, Wealthy Cam, how you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing great. Super blessed. I appreciate you guys for having me onto the show. Super blessed.
It's good. It's good. It's a beautiful day.
Y'all already know how we get into the show.
So we're gonna get into this and spring into this, and we're gonna spring into this.
Ooh.
Small wins.
I like that. I like that. VJ came back real catchy today, y'all.
I've been on myself.
All right. So we're going to spring into some small wins. And let's see. Y'all already know the small wins is what get us to the big wins, but we don't celebrate our small wins enough.
So I'm going to tap into the small wins.
So who want to go first with the small wins? You know what? I was missing last week.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
missed you.
I miss you. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not gonna front. Like, they such a sense of home and like ease, of peace of mind for me. I'm just like mad grateful. So my small win is like really spending that quality time with my pops and just like checking in, making sure he good, making sure that everything's all right. Sometimes you really need to take that little bit of time for family and like really hone into that, because that's big. You know, like we take it for granted, and sometimes we don't have enough time. So like that was like really big for me. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna rock with it. I'm rocking with you, Daddy. I'm rocking with you. So he had emergency eye surgery. Good thing all of that went really well. Grateful. It was just like time to. I gave his doctors a break because my father he a pit bull to his doctors. So I had a little muzzle on him, and they was like, are you? And I'm like, the youngest daughter. They was like, can you come to every appointment? I was like, listen, y'all saved today. I don't know about the rest of them. I don't know about the rest of them. But not for nothing, that was a big small win. Just like spending that family time that I be so on the go that it was just like, all right, I got some time for that. So small win, big win. Shout out to you, G. Love you to life.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. My small win, honestly, was just life.
Yes.
It really just was taking the time to remember the life that I live.
Yes.
You know, we take so much time, especially in this world of forced comparisons and seeing where we not at, that a lot of times we miss where we are at.
Yeah. Ooh.
And so
don't miss
and we here Making Moguls. That's what we do. And I had to celebrate that. I had to like take the moments to be like, yes, I get on the show every week and drop gems and make sure that people take something from that.
Yes.
Like, we don't waste time on Making Moguls, you know? Like, I took stack at the fact that, like, I put people in positions to win, you know? Like, I show up for people. I show up for myself now. And, like, I really just was happy for the life that I'm building for myself. And so that was my small win.
That's powerful.
That's what's up.
That's simple, powerful win. That's like, you up next? What we can.
So
how you feeling, King?
What we doing? I mean, I'm feeling good. I'm always feeling good. Super blessed. So we doing small wins for the day or small wins for like
the week?
For the week.
Yeah.
For the week. Actually, one of my it's a small win but a big win. You know what I'm saying? So I would say like in between, but I've been consistent in the gym lately.
That's
I love that.
Super consistent in the gym. You know, as somebody, I grew up playing baseball. I played D1 baseball, right? And like prior to 2020, so like my gym routine and you know, I feel like just going to the gym is self-love. Right? Loving yourself enough to show up in the gym. Loving yourself enough to lift weights. And health is wealth, right? Wealthy Cam. It's not just wealthy in the pockets. Health is wealth, which is the biggest bag that you should
invest in.
Feel what I'm saying? So I've been hitting the gym like 5:30 in the morning because that's the time. Because that's the time for me, like me time.
Yeah.
Where I like from like 5 to 8:30 is me time, and then of course when my assistant comes, and then I got clients hit me up all day. Then it's like now I got. But I poured into myself because it's very hard to pour into other people
when you from an empty cup.
You feel me? So so that's my small win. Just staying consistent in the gym. And like I said, health is wealth. So
that's dope. Now that you reminded me, I do want to point out because you tapped into that sports part of me, and I was able to play basketball this week for the first time in like mad long.
That's what's up.
And I got on that court, and I really just went to work.
It felt good, right?
It felt real good. It felt real good to just be reminded that them skills never left.
Yo, DJ say that when my back here, I'm gonna bust your ass.
Let's play, man. We ball up.
You heard that here first.
You feel me?
We ball up, baby. We ball up.
Right.
So let's get into this conversation. So we're talking about wealth. We're talking about credit, building credit to wealth. Using your credit as a tool, not as a crutch.
OPM.
OPM, baby. That's what we fuck with out here, okay? Because that's how America runs, okay? Everybody gonna eat a little piece of your bag. But the tap is, you gotta tap into their bag to get your bag.
Right. Use other people's money for your money. That's the game.
So let's get into this. Let's talk about credit profiles. Let's talk about, because we already know that yes, there is business credit, and we're gonna tap into getting into business credit. But first, we're gonna focus on personal credit.
Foundation.
That's the foundation. That's the foundation. Everything else you can do as well. But you're gonna tap into your personal credit. So let's talk into the credit profiles. Let's talk about what we're looking for, what we're trying to have. Like what is the best? What's the best profile we can build, and how can we get there?
So that's two questions, right? So first, let's start off on the building side. So how I like to break it down on the personal credit side is RBL, repair, build, and leverage.
Okay,
right. So that's the foundation. So, but first, you have to check your credit report to make sure there's no negatives.
Right.
And negatives, you have late payments, charge-offs, collections, anything that's holding down your credit report, right? So first, you have to remove those. So that's the R.
So how do we tap into removing them? Like, is there certain things that they can do? Is there certain people they could call? Can they handle it themselves?
So there's two ways, right? So you can hire a company like mine, which will do it for you. But I always tell people you should learn how to do it yourself, because I like people who are able to fish and not always like being fed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So. But
we're making moguls, not dependents.
You feel me, right? So the way to do it yourself is learn. There's something called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is just the laws that help us, the consumers, for any stuff that's on your report, right? So definitely do some research. YouTube University is a free resource, right? So make sure you hop on there, right? So.
Just go search another video. We'll link some in the description since you're already on YouTube right now.
Yes, sir. Right. So then that's the first step. You want to repair your credit. Then you want to build your credit. So once you remove the negatives, you want to add some positive, right? So these can be secured credit cards or secured loans. The best secured credit cards, you have Discover, you got Capital One. Why? Because those graduate to unsecured credit cards, which are just regular credit cards.
Right.
Right. Because you want to make sure that these cards are going to graduate so you can use them as regular credit cards. So add some positive history. You have Self as well.
Hold on, wait. Just a quick question. Quick question. So we talked about secure credit cards, right?
Sir.
One, just to explain to the people, right? Secure credit cards are cards that you put up money against,
Yes, sir.
so that you can use it to build credit history. Because the whole point of credit is that they can trust to give you money, and the likelihood that they're gonna get it back. That's the whole point of credit. Okay?
Exactly.
The same way somebody might credit you something for you to cop so you could pay back later, it's the same likelihood of that.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to trust you if they don't know you. So building that secure credit, being like, here's some money that I put up against this. Now I'll be able to use your money and I'll be able to pay it back. And then when I pay it back, then I'll be able to receive my secured. So what would you say is like the initial starting for like these secure credit cards, and how long does it take for them to mature?
So what do you mean the initial starting?
Like do they get approved for like $10,000? Do they get approved for $2,000? They get approved for $500?
Right. So like you said,
what's the range?
So the range is how much you put up on the card.
Okay.
So if you put up 500, then They'll give you a $500 limit.
Okay.
Now, that's the only downside about secured credit cards is that a lot of people don't have a lot of money to put on those cards.
Okay.
Right? So say they only put $300 or $400, then when the card graduates, like a Capital One, you have Discover, you have Navy Federal, those all graduate in about 6 to 8 months of on-time payment history, right? So that's how they graduate.
remember key, 6 to 8 months on-time payment history.
Right? So this is not overnight. It takes some time to build your report. So don't think, you're going to build a report in 30 days and then go out and get 5 or 15,000 credit cards, right? It's a process. As long as you stick with the process, then you'll be in a good position.
I hope y'all understand it by now, because this is Making Moguls. I hope y'all not trying to get rich quick. Y'all on the wrong channel.
That's a fact.
The wrong channel. You're gonna get rich quick.
And when it comes to credit is a never-ending thing. So you can. I've seen people have 750 and they scored and went down to 6, 5 because they're not taking their credit like serious. Yeah. So they're like, all right, listen, I've been here, I'm gonna stay here. Nah, you're not really keeping up with those. You're not keeping up with your payment. You're not keeping up with that utilization. You're not keeping up with those processes and using your credit efficiently. Your credit's gonna drop down. It doesn't just stay there. Let's just keep telling folks, like, listen, y'all, credit is not going to just stay there. You have to continuously, it's like going to the gym. You have to continuously keep that routine.
I might have to take that analogy. Build a good credit. Going to the gym, you gotta consistently work on it.
It's not just building, again, it's not just building credit for the purpose of getting the access, which is what you want, but it's building healthy credit habits.
Right.
Okay.
Talk about
paying off your debts before your statement date, not before your due date. Making sure that your utilization is low, under 20%. Making sure that when you are getting things on your report, if you have anything on your report, you know how to take care of them as soon as possible. Right. Because just like your healthy eating habits and going to the doctor, checking your score daily or weekly or whatever works best for you. Because sometimes I don't check it daily because it gives me anxiety. Like, damn, I wanted to go away. Like, no, but like, set up proper checks, proper habits, because these are what's going to build the basic building blocks for everything else that we're about to talk about. So 6 to 8 months, put up your secure. It graduates to unsecured now. Now we into tier 1 credit, right?
Yes, sir.
How do we get into this? How do we understand this?
So I definitely want to, right? So first, once it graduates, now you may have a couple accounts in your report. Right, so now you want to start building relationships, or I mean, you can even build the relationships as you're building, right? So go to your local Chase, open up a checking and savings account, right? Drop some money in there because, like you said, it's all about trust and relationships. So the way that I like to put it is, it's like if you have a guy and he wants to shoot a shot at a girl, right? If she's a complete stranger, it's gonna be much harder for her to say yes to a date. But say you guys have mutual friends, right? So say we were boys and you knew her, then your bro put me on, right? So now she knows that I know you, so she may be more willing to say yes because it's the trust factor. So it's no different than the banks, right?
And it's also the difference between, let's say you see a girl and it's the first time you're seeing her. You're a complete stranger. But let's say you've got familiar, y'all go to the same gym, or y'all got something, you said something, inquire, started a conversation, opened up or something, and not be so thirsty, like, give me the money, build up these relationships. Then later down the line, we've established a relationship. She's more likely to be like, oh yeah, of course I'll go on a date with you. We've been macking for a little while. Like,
thank you. So
you're a trustworthy person. I can be safe around you.
Exactly. So that's exactly how the banks are. Listen, we can trust you with a little bit of money and stuff like that. So it's all about relationships, especially nowadays. You have all these banks closing and lawsuits here and there, right? So it's all about relationships. So you definitely want to start to build and then start asking some of the banks for credit. But when you ask, go through the pre-approval first, right? See what you're pre-approved for, because you're going to save yourself the hard inquiry when you apply. So American Express has a pre-approval, Capital One, Chase, Bank of America, right?
So let's tap into that real quick, because we just brought up hard inquiries. Pre-approvals and bank relationships, right? So in this, because the one thing I don't want to get lost is interest rates, and understanding how interest rates ties into everything. Because in the beginning, people need to understand that in the beginning, you get a lot of high interest rates. Again, you're not a trustworthy person in the eyes of the bank. I don't care how much your mama vouch for you, unless she's actually vouching you by being a signee. Again, so what would you say, one, is like some of the best banks to like work with as a business person, as an entrepreneur?
I would say credit unions. A lot of people don't know about credit unions. So if you're watching this, a credit union is a bank, it's just a smaller bank. but they're more for the people. So they have a lot, much better rates on car loans, much better rates on credit cards, and they're more lenient when it comes to lending you credit if you don't have like A1 credit. So you can still have a 650, a 680, and still be able to get, you know, at least a couple credit cards, you know, from a credit union like Navy Federal, Penn Federal was another one, Digital Federal. I mean, there's a bunch of credit unions out there. So,
and I wanted to let people know, because there's different levels of banks, which is, and I just wanted to point this out because I did have a whole cannabis conversation last week. There are national banks, there's state banks, and then there's credit unions, which are local banks. National and state banks are not allowed to touch anything cannabis because it crosses state lines and therefore becomes federal, which is why you cannot get any loans from banks like that, because they have to report to the FDIC.
Yeah.
But credit unions are within the state, and so they abide by the laws of operating money in the state. Right. So that's another reason why credit unions are a great place to start, because building those relationships with local banks get you a lot further, especially within your state. The downside is they don't have the support that a national bank would have. It might take you a little bit more to get into the bank. But we live in the age of 2023. Online banking is a thing. Like, it is pretty easy to handle your stuff. Most of the cards have, especially for like ATM fees, they usually have some network worked out where you can get your ATM fees either reimbursed or like use the ATMs within their network. They work with you. So I just wanted to point that out. So now that we tapped into a few, let's talk about hard inquiries. What those are and how do you handle those?
And how can hard inquiries affect your credit?
Yeah.
Got you. So first, you get a hard inquiry anytime you submit an application. So like just for the audience watching, you have soft inquiries, hard inquiries. A soft inquiry is like when you do a pre-approval where it's not a full check of your credit report, you know, but they're looking at a few details, right? That doesn't affect your credit at all. But then if you accept the offer that they give you, then you get a hard inquiry, which can drop your score anywhere from like 2 to 10 points, which is not that crazy, right? Now, they affect you because they tell banks that you've been looking for credit recently, because if you get a hard inquiry, that means you applied for something. So you want to make sure that you're not applying for things without knowing if you're going to get approved, right? So make sure you check your credit report. You know, you have a decent score, you have no late, you know, no negatives, because there's no point of applying if you know
if you're gonna just get ahead. Yeah, because I did that. No lie, I did that myself.
We've all been there.
I was like, oh word, I got credit. I'm gonna run it up, and I started running it up, and I took too many hard inquiries. And now the first thing that says like you have too many hard inquiries. We're not gonna give you no credit. So they told me slow down, chill, relax, and I think they stay on your credit for how long?
So for 2 years. So
2 years.
Yeah. So this is how it works. It's a 6, 12, 24. So they affect your credit for 6 months. After 12 months, they stop really affecting your credit, and then after 24 months, they fall off.
Okay.
So 6, 12, 24.
Is there any way to have them removed beforehand, or you just gotta wait till they fall off?
I mean, you can. Oh, okay. So we getting right into the game.
We get into this game, baby.
Right. So you can. So what some people do is as soon as you know, say you apply for a card, you get a hard inquiry. What a lot of people don't know is that the hard inquiry shows up first, and then the account will show up maybe like a week after. So you can't remove inquiries that are tied to open accounts.
Yes.
Right, but that hard inquiry is not tied to an open account yet because there's nothing shown. So you can call the credit bureaus and you can say, hey, listen, I didn't authorize this inquiry, this and that, and it has to get removed. 7 times out of 10, it's probably going to get removed. Or you do something called HUCA, H-U-C-A, hang up and call again, right? Call a different rep. You know, maybe the first rep is having a bad day, wasn't trying to help you. Maybe his girlfriend broke up with him yesterday, he's not helping nobody. Right, but you may, you know, call, I don't know, Susie, you know, she just came off her honeymoon, she's lit, she's having a good time, right? So she may be more willing to help you, right? So that's a little way, you know, how people get hard inquiries removed, but at the end of the day, they don't affect your report that much. So I really wouldn't stress about it too much.
Okay, so 6, 12, 24.
6, 12, 24.
All right, that's good. Okay, now we're talking about hard inquiries. How do we get around those? Because I've heard things like freezing your credit. I've heard things like applying for multiple cards under one bank. I've heard. I told you we're getting into this, baby. We're getting into this.
I love this talk. Yeah, and you know, just slow me down because sometimes when I start talking about credit, I get in my bag.
Let's get in this bag, bro. I told you these people, if they ain't hip. We did 2 episodes before, so we did it 2 weeks ago, and then we did an episode like a couple months ago. Search it up on Making Moguls. We got it. I'll link it in the description later if y'all really fiending that much. Comment below that you want the videos and I'll link it so that I know I'm not wasting my time. But we will do it. But again, we're getting into this bag. So let's get into this bag.
Let's get it, right? So I have to speak about a couple of things. So first, you spoke about getting multiple credit cards in one inquiry. So it's called credit stacking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So it's called credit stacking. Some people call it the shotgun method. It's super simple. All you're doing is applying for multiple cards at the same time.
Okay.
Now, certain banks will let you apply and get approved for 2 or 3 credit cards with one inquiry as long as you submit the application at the same time.
That's
so, for
fire.
instance, American Express. One thing I love about American Express, I talk about them all day, is once you get approved for their personal credit card, any other card that you apply for is only a soft inquiry, so it won't affect your credit.
Yep.
So I was able to get 6 in one inquiry.
Okay.
See, I wish I had known that. I had got 2. I could have got 6.
You could have ran it up, right?
But now I'm going to just wait and do it again.
Right, so say you get a couple from American Express, one inquiry. Bank of America does the same thing. You can get 2, one inquiry, right? So now, if you get 2 from American Express, you get 2 from Bank of America, you got 4 cards, but only 2 inquiries. Right?
Okay.
And then, if you want to take it a step further, American Express, after 90 days, will let you up to 3x your credit limit. So say you got approved for 2,000. Right? Say you got approved for 2,000, which is nothing crazy.
Yeah.
91 days after you've been approved, you can ask for up to 6,000. Right? So say
I
you
wish
increase
I
up to
knew that.
6,000. Peep this. After 91 days after that, you can 3x it again. So you can literally turn a 2,000 card into what? So what's 6 times 3? 18,000.
Yep.
$18,000 credit card. If you got 2 of those,
That's
36,000
32.
right there. That's 36,000 right there. 18,000, 18,000.
That's 36, yep.
You feel me? So now we're talking high limit. High limits. We're talking about getting multiple credit cards. Now you spoke about now. Let's talk about plays where there's no inquiry. You got the Apple Card. A lot of people know about the Apple Card. The Apple Card, if you apply for the Apple Card, so they're going to give you an offer. Let's say they give you, it's an offer, for 4,000. Before you accept the offer, go to TransUnion, right, because Apple pulls TransUnion, freeze that credit report. You simply just Google, freeze TransUnion report. You freeze that report, save the little pin they give you. Once you accept the offer, now you just got the Apple Card with no inquiry.
No inquiry. Boom.
Fire.
Let's talk about freezing credit for a second, because I want other people to understand that. So, with freezing credit, right? It is as simple as contacting which credit union that the banks pull from, which is, I want to pull back just again real quick because we did tap it in the other video, but I just want to make sure this point is tapped. That different credit cards and different credit companies pull different reports.
Exactly.
There are 3 major reports, but there are over hundreds of credit companies. And so do your research and make sure that you line up your credit report, the specific credit report that you're pulling from before you start applying for those things. And so with that, now that I lined it up, I lined up the play. How does credit freezing work? What does it do? And how, what does it do and how does it work?
So usually people only freeze their credit when they're not trying to apply for anything, or a lot of times if they've been a victim of fraud, right? Because when you freeze your report, then nobody can apply for nothing under your credit. So that's like the main reason why people freeze it. But some people will freeze it, for the simple play that I just brought up with the Apple Pay. Freeze it so you get no inquiry when you apply, for the Apple Card. But for the most part, it's mainly to protect people from like fraudulent activity or stuff like that, right? So that's usually why people freeze it.
So once you freeze your card, any hard inquiries that come into your report are not allowed to be pulled at all.
Yeah. So, right. So let me clarify. So only a few cards, like the Apple Card, will let you still get the card without an inquiry. But most credit cards, so say American Express, they'll see that it's frozen and they'll let you know, hey, listen, we can't check your report. You have to unfreeze your Experian report because they pull Experian. You get what I'm saying? So you just have to be mindful of which cards and which banks will let you freeze it and still let you approve the credit card.
Okay, so now we're gonna tap into that real quick because so Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, right?
Those are the big 3.
Those are the big 3. So
homies.
let's talk Equifax. What cards are associated with Equifax that you know of?
Right. So the main ones you got Right, so let's talk credit unions. You have DCU, which is Digital Federal Credit Union, a super dope, low-key one. You got PenFed, right? PenFed, the super one, give high limits, 20, 25,000. Then you got the bigger banks. You got U.S. Bank. You got Truist, which is a sleeper right now. Right, Truist. They were a merger between SunTrust and BB&T.
Okay.
Right, so because they're a new bank, they're just giving out the
they
bag right now.
But they want business. Yep, they want business.
You feel me? So right, so that's a good thing to know. So you got Truist. Who else puts Equifax? And you got, I believe, First Tech, which is another credit union. Pulls Equifax as well, right? So that's about what, 4 or 5 banks.
4 or 5 banks. We just gave y'all the play right there.
Right there, right. So
you line up your credit on the Equifax. You make sure.
I got a couple other good ones. You got Citizens and KeyBank.
Yeah, I hear
Citizens.
Yep.
They just took over HSBC.
Oh, so that's a big
they're
bank.
another one that just
bank,
handed out the bag, right? So Citizens, and you got KeyBank, right? So that's 5, 6 banks right there. Build a relationship. Yo, speak to the bankers that are in there. Ask them about their products. Ask them, have a conversation with them. And it goes to the relationships. Like, I have a lot of dope relationships with the bankers where some of my clients don't even have to go into the bank. I just send them right to the banker, do it over email, boom, and apply for the cards like that.
Fire.
You know what I'm saying? So it's super dope.
Banking relation is everything.
Super.
All right, so now that was Equifax.
Equifax, right? So let's go to TransUnion. So you got the Apple Card. You got Navy Federal. Navy Federal is another credit union. House of high limits, give stupid, crazy limits. Bank of America will sometimes either put TransUnion or Experian. Right, so, and then who else put TransUnion? You also have NASA Federal. They also put TransUnion as well, right? So there's a bunch of banks out there. And you can simply just Google which banks pull TransUnion. And
you can. You literally just can.
And you have a whole list, right? So, find banks that are in your area that may pull TransUnion.
Okay, and now
Experian. Yeah. Experian is my favorite one. We got Chase, you got American Express. Like I said, a Bank of America might pull Experian. Who's the other big Experian? Oh, you got PNC, right? PNC as well, which is another super low-key sleeper. So, if you hit 3 banks, that I mentioned from each bureau,
line up those
you got a couple credit cards at even 3 to 5K, that's about 15, 20K right there.
Okay.
Right, nothing crazy.
Okay, so now we got these cards. We've built up this personal credit limit. Question though, because I do want to tap into this real quick because it's tied into my other business, which is my travel business. People don't understand that one of the reasons why you should use credit cards is that it protects your purchases, because most credit cards have purchase protection, and so if something happens, you just call them and be like, yo, I don't know what the fuck happened to this, and the credit card will take care of it most of the time. They will pull the money straight, like a lot of the time. Second, especially if you do it within a year of the purchase. The second part protects against fraudulent activity, because if somebody steals money from your debit account, it's gone. That's your money gone. And if your credit card gets stolen, again, you can report it as fraudulent activity, and it's not your money. So
technically,
it's borrowed money.
Yeah,
exactly.
And third and most important that I like, there's a lot of fucking points that you can stack up for just spending and paying it off. There are so many travel cards. So many cards that give points, like I'm like freaking the big one we was just talking about, American Express,
man. American Express
love points. Your local banks do a lot of points. Discover does points. There's a lot of points that you can gain cash back for. You can use for taking yourself out, taking your lady out, taking your husband out, taking your peoples out. But travel, oh my God, travel points. You can fly so many places. If you get the right miles, the Delta Sky miles, the JetBlue, the American Express, American Express got so many travel miles. Get them, and then you get so much more perks as you run it up.
And then lounge access and stuff like that.
Centurion Lounge, boy. Different, bro. You start living, again, building credit. These creditors want to make money off your back. The whole point of it is, I got money, and I want to make this money make money. And the best way I can make this money make money is to give him money and be like, hey, use this money, but when you come back, you got to pay me this much. And the play is, the credit card companies is like, okay, We give you this money, but the longer you take to give us back, the more we're going to take from you. And the more we're going to take off the top, because you're going to pay your interest before you pay your principal.
Always.
Understand that. You're going to pay your interest before your principal. And the principal is what you borrowed. Your interest is what you owe. So if you have $500 out and your interest is $200, you're going to pay on the $200 every single time before you pay the $500. And that's why your balance don't go down. So understand all of that. Get into all of that. With that being said, how do we now start hacking this credit to get what we want in life, and how do we transfer it to business credit?
So I really think it's personal preference, right? So it's based on your goals, right? So just take, somebody, or take her for example, right? She's a vegan chef, right? Which is super dope. So, there could be, some culinary events, or, some shows, or maybe, some classes, or somebody who she looks up to who's a chef that is having a course or something, like to take her whole chef career and her cooking to the next level, so she can use her credit card to invest in that, right? And then so even if she didn't have the money right away, say she got a new credit card, 0% interest, use that card to invest. Now she's around new people, and now she's learning new skills, right? So now she can bring that back into her business, and then start applying that to her business, and start getting out there, right? But that's just her profession, right? Take somebody like me, and when I first started, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I had all this credit, right? So now I've paid $5,000 for mentorship, and I was able to meet other people who dropped $5,000 for mentorship. So now the conversations are different. Now we're talking about taxes, we're talking about credit, we're talking about wealth, we're talking about reading books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, right? So my mind is expanding just from getting in these rooms, but I'm getting into these rooms because I'm swiping my credit card. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm using the points that I'm getting from my credit card from paying my bills, because we're going to pay bills anyway, right? So let's get paid to pay our bills. Right? So I'm going to put all my bills on my credit card, and then use the money from my debit card, from my checking account to pay off the credit card.
By the statement date, not the due date.
By the statement date, right? Because
I don't make that mistake enough times.
And talk about the difference between the statement date and the due date.
We can get into that, right? So real quick, so the due date, most people know the due date. That's when your minimum payment is due. Most times it's going to be about $25, $35, right? And then your statement date usually comes about 5 to 10 days after your due date. So say your minimum due date is the 5th. Your statement date is most likely going to be the 10th or the 15th, right between that. Now, whatever balance is on your credit card on the statement date, so in this example of the 10th, that balance is going to report as utilization to the credit bureau. So if you have a $1,000 credit card, right, and it's the 1st of the month, your due date is the 5th, say you had a $700 balance, right? So $700 balance on a $1,000 credit card, that's 70% of that credit card that you're using. So say you pay off the $700 on the 5th, you think you're good. I'm chilling, I paid off my card, right? But then say on the 8th, you go and spend that $700 again. On the statement date, if you didn't pay nothing down, now the credit bureaus see that you're still using $700 of that $1,000, so that's 70% utilization.
Right.
And you should have been watching the Making Moguls show on the last episode where they broke down, how to keep it below, what is that, 20%? Right, 20%. But before you apply for credit, you want to make sure you keep that below 10%, because that's going to give you the best chances to getting approved for that card, right? So that's just something for you to know.
And just a little quick caveat, because I want you to understand, your statement date and then your due date, they're technically a month apart. Because you get a statement date every month and you get a due date every month, but they give you a statement date based on last month's credit activity, and then you have a month from that statement date to your due date to pay it off. Understand those two structures, and understand why those things happen. Because a lot of people be like, "Oh, I just paid this off.
That's
why I don't show up on the thing?" And I'm like, "You paid off last month."
That's really, I feel
you didn't
like
even see how much money you really spent for this month.
Mm-hmm.
And it's understanding about, like, this is why you got to check your credit report, check your credit cards. And I understand it gets anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety starts coming up when you start swiping and looking and shit. You're like, oh, what the fuck? Where did it go? Proper habits. Start small, build these habits up. Don't go rushing and handling credit cards if you know the type to go ball out on the bottles, because unless your business is completely in entertainment, you can't write that off. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to be spending money that you can't pay back.
Right.
Again, being responsible. So with that being said, paying off by the statement date, by the due date, the utilization is down. How do we tap into this business credit now?
Right. And
how do we get this big bag?
And how do they look at your personal credit towards your business credit?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I preach that the personal credit is the foundation of everything, right? So like I said before, on the personal credit side, repair, build, leverage. On the business credit side, it's structure, set up, secure the bag. Structure, set up, secure the bag. So right when it comes, as I said, the 3 S's, right? So first you want to make sure that your personal credit is structured. So you want a 700 score, at least a 700, right? 680, 700, 100% payment history, utilization under 20%, like we mentioned. You want to have at least about 8 to 10 accounts in your report, right? So a mixture of loans, a mixture of credit cards. You want to have at least 2+ years of history, and then no more than like 3 inquiries per bureau, right? So that's how you want your credit report structured. Then you want your business set up, right? So of course, LLC, your bank account,
bank account,
all that good
your
stuff.
number. We talk about this.
Yes.
We talk about this. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. We talk about business structure. This is literally what the fuck I talk about. So y'all better know it.
Right, so I'm putting a stamp on it. Right? So make sure your business set up properly. Then once you have it structured, once you have your business set up, then go back to those same banks that you built that relationship with, the Chase, the Navy Federal, ask them for business credit. Now, if your business is less than 2 years old, they're 99% of the time are going to pull your personal credit anyway.
Okay.
So that's why it's super important to make sure you take care of your personal credit and structure your personal credit.
Because a personal guarantee is what they're about to tackle.
Exactly, the personal guarantee or a PG. Now there's people out there that say, oh, there's no PG cards out there, which is cool. I mean, you have your gas cards, you have Divvy, you have Ramp, you have Brex, which is cool. But there's no credit like personal guarantee and really leveraging your personal credit. Because the worst thing that's going to happen, you might get a few hard inquiries, but what I love about business credit is that most business credit cards don't report to your personal.
No, they don't affect.
Now, the ones that do, you have Capital One Spark cards, TD Business, and you have Discover. Those all report to your personal. So I would stay away from those business cards, but any other business cards for your game, run it up.
So now we're talking about business cards, right?
Let's get it.
The difference between business and personal, right? One, your personal utilization is something that is very important to keep low because they check into that. Your business, on the other hand, these utilizations, they expect you to run it up. They expect you. The whole point is you're running a business, so we're giving you money to operate your business in the hopes that you're making enough money on your business that you're gonna pay it all the fuck off.
Right.
Okay. And even if we charge you high ass interest, you're still gonna pay the fuck off because that's why you're running a business. So, what are the type of cards that we kind of expect once we start tapping into business credit?
Well, so the cards that I like to focus on are 0% APR cards, right? Because those cards, say you have, I'll give you a perfect example. You have a Chase Business Inc. card, right? There's about 3 of them.
Yep, I got the blue business. Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, right. So one of those cards, I believe they have 0% APR for 12 months.
Yep.
Right. So that means that you pay no interest on the money for 12 months. Right. So just think about this. If they give you a $20,000 Chase card, 0% interest for 12 months, your minimum payments are going to be no more than $200. Right. So that's how you kind of use the bank's money to kind of invest in your business with no money out of pocket, because the whole purpose of getting business credit is to invest to make a profit. Right. So like I said, if you're paying $200 a month and you have a business model where, you're using the $20,000 to make $600 a month, you take $200, you pay off the card, and you pocket $400. Right. Profit, but there's no money out of pocket. Right. So that's how you utilize, business credit cards. Utilize the 0% APR card. So you got the Chase, American Express, Blue Business Plus, the Blue Business Cash. You get 2 points per dollar, or 2% cash back, and 0% APR for like 12 months. You know what I'm saying? So now use those cards to invest in your business, and then use the profit to pay it back. Now, worst case scenario, say the 12 months runs up, and you still have a balance. Right? So a lot of people are like, damn, I don't want to get hit with interest. What you do is just you you apply for other credit cards, 0% APR, and do a balance transfer.
And just
reset the clock.
Okay.
That's a fact. You do a balance transfer. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Big facts. So, yeah, there's so many ways that you can maneuver around the business side. But, yeah, so leverage your personal. Make sure you take care of your personal. Then use your personal, go get some business credit. And then use that money to invest in your business. And then use the profit to pay off the cards.
So with that, let's talk about.
Basically, we talked about washing money.
Yep.
Basically, legally though.
Legally. So
no El Chapo shit.
Yeah, no El Chapo shit. Because last time I even said I wanted a legal business that made money like El Chapo, I got banned from Facebook. So I said I want a legal business that makes money like El Chapo. They said no,
you can't do that.
You can't do that. So just don't do that. Don't even demonetize this video because we said that. We was just using an example. Just using an example.
Chill out, Facebook.
So. We talked a lot about credit cards, but there's different types of credit.
Of course.
And actually different credit vehicles that people should be using because credit cards are just one type that report to your thing. So I wanted to, before we get all too caught up in this, what are some other types of credit vehicles and how do we tap into them?
Yeah, so how it is, first you got business credit cards or just credit cards in general, and then right after that, you have what's called lines of credit.
Lines of credit.
Which is very similar to credit card. It's similar to loans. It's like, right in between. And then you have loans, right, which is your regular loans. You pay a certain amount of interest for a certain amount of time. Once you pay it off, then that's it, right? Everything's good to go. A lot of people now are really leaning towards lines of credit because you don't have to use the whole amount, right? So say you get approved for $40,000, but you don't need $40,000. You only need $20,000, right? So you can use the $20,000. You always get hit with the interest on the $20,000, but once you pay that back, you have access to the $40,000 again. You get what I'm saying? So now you can kind of just take what you need.
Okay, so there's lines of credit, and then there's loans. Do you know what percentage of your credit report does each one take up, and if you suggest one over the other for the purpose of credit building?
So when it comes to credit building, I really prefer credit cards only because you do have that 0% interest, right? So I mean, there's no better money to get, 10, 15, even $30,000 without having to pay any interest. Now lines of credit, some people like lines of credit because that money gets deposited right into your bank account, and you don't have to use the whole amount. As far as a loan, say you get approved for $50,000, now you have to pretty much.
They sell you the whole $50,000.
Yeah,
that's on you, bro.
Yeah, you feel me? So I prefer lines of credit and then 0% APR credit cards because of the balance transfer thing, right? Because you can balance transfer, move some money around and still not have to pay any interest.
I'm mad. I forgot about the balance transfer. I
got
caught on some fucking interest
today.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
I told you, you either gonna win with us
or watch us win,
and
regardless, we gonna win.
That's how it go, baby. That's how it goes. So I love that. So many vehicles. Okay, so we've tapped into a lot of the credit cards and all of that stuff. Just letting people know, just as a caveat, this is not the only way you can get funding for your business. There are lots of ways to get funding for your business. Sure. There are also companies that will give direct funding. There are venture capitalists, investors.
You got third-party lenders.
Yeah.
Like Rock Financial is another one that gives, some stuff. Now, the only thing about those is that, some of them give what's called merchant cash advances, which I hate. Because I don't like merchant cash advances because, one, a lot of the times the terms are short. The length of the terms are pretty short, which means that you have weekly or bi-weekly payments. Who the hell wants to pay weekly or bi-weekly, right? How much rather you fix your credit with the money that you're going to use and then get real credit cards or real lines of credit that you pay once a month instead of having all this money at high ass interest. I mean, bro, I've seen the MCA with 37% interest.
Ooh.
Who wants?
Damn, they really bad. They stealing out your pockets. And the interest, no lie, interest rates are kind of high right now.
Super high.
Between inflation, between the banks being all scared, between crypto affecting the space, between the fact that rich people got all the money right now. There's not a lot of money, as much as should be in the economy right now. The wealth is concentrated at the top, and they're the ones giving us the money. So I suggest that you, with playing with all of this, because I've taken these L's myself, and these dollars and cents do count because it's all about the profit. Not an ethical profit, because I don't want nobody start robbing banks because they think it's about a profit. Ethical profit. You want to, again, practice healthy credit habits, because you don't want to play with these interest rates and they catch you on the hook. And now you're just paying the minimum balance and not realizing that you're paying like $2 on your principal the whole time. Like,
let me say something in that too. Like before you get into the credit game and really start getting high limit credit cards and stuff, you need money management. That's the foundation, right? So go grab Rich Dad Poor Dad. Understand, how money operates. Change your relationship with money.
Yes.
Right. That's huge. I mean, we always speaking about relationships, but the relationship with money is going to determine how you handle these credit cards, right? So check your bank account and see, where your bank account is right now. That's your relationship, or a direct reflection of your relationship with money, right? So it starts with money management first.
Okay, I like that.
So what I hear is getting into I know we passed this, but how people add trade lines to their credit report, right? How beneficial the trade line, adding the trade line is. So, but it's definitely that extra investment on adding trade line, because you're basically adding someone else's credit history to your credit report.
I do want to talk about it.
That's definitely mad beneficial. Sometimes it could definitely get you caught in the rip. So can you get into depth of that trade line game?
Let's talk about trade lines.
For sure. So super simple. What a trade line is just a positive account in your report. So you have a primary trade line, which is an account that's in your name, right, that you applied for with your social. Then you have a secondary trade line, which is what you're pretty much referring to. So the most common one is an authorized user, right? So you say, I don't know, you may have an older sister, older brother, or just a friend who's much older that has a lot more credit history. So what they're gonna do is add you onto their credit card as an authorized user. Now you're not going to use the card. If you want, you can cut it up, but the whole purpose is so you get their history, their credit limit, and it helps add another account to your report. Now the downside to that downside is that if they have a late payment or they mess up their credit, it's going to affect yours, right? Okay. So you need to make sure that when you have somebody add you as a trade line, or add you as an authorized user, that they're responsible with the credit as well.
And I do want to tap on that, because that is a hack for all the parents out there. That's a hack for all the parents out there. If you have and will use your credit properly, add your children as authorized users on your credit, because by the time they grow up, they're going to have a freaking 700 or something, almost 800 credit score, because you added them to the right credit cards and you paid them off properly, the right trade lines and you paid them off properly, because this person's coming into fresh credit. That actually happened to me when I got married. I inherited some good credit, and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. So again, set your kids up. This is why generational wealth is a thing.
That's a fact.
Because even if you still trying to figure it out, creating that system for your kids and for your future is an amazing start that we can all give our kids. If we can't give them houses, if we can't give them, we can give them some good ass credit, okay? And some good ass credit practices, okay? I always say, give your kid authorized user. There's even cards that once they hit high school they can get as part of your credit thing, and they can start using it, and you pay it back based on the chores they do. But you again pay your damn credit card. But do these things and build these habits for your kids from young, okay?
Right.
But back into these trade lines, because that's a big thing right now, especially in the business space. Everybody's like, add these 2 trade lines to your credit. I got these 5 trade lines.
Right. It's dope. It's like dope in the streets these days.
Low key.
No bullshit.
But there's a lot of people selling bad dope. Bad trade lines out there. So, so with the trade lines, one thing I say is only start to add trade lines when you're getting ready to apply for something. Okay. Right? Because I know some people who will pay for trade lines, $600, $700, sometimes $1,000 for a trade line, but they still have negatives on their report. So that's adding, you can't put sugar on shit.
Right.
You feel me? It just don't work like that, right? So make sure
you gotta have shitty sugar.
You feel me, right? So make sure you clean your report first, then you add these trade lines, because most times these trade lines that you buy from other people are only gonna stay in your report for like 60 to 90 days. Now, it's, you know, if it's a family member and stuff like that, then that's a little different, you know, because they're family, and hopefully, you know, they let you rock out with their report. Yeah. Hold that over your head.
Well, so I feel you that. So now, with trade lines, so as you said, they're utilized best when applying for something to help build that credit profile and that structure. Okay, before we go, I want to ask some questions about just general questions about credit and how to utilize.
And before that, right? So just a recap off the trade line thing too. Like you want to make sure. You want to make sure that the trade lines you're buying are like legit too, because there's a lot of people who buy, you know, trade lines and then they spend all this money, you know, for somebody not to add them to the credit card.
Wow.
Yeah, I see that happen a lot.
Shiesty.
I see that happen a lot, right? So you got to make sure, you know what I'm saying,
you
you're doing your research.
Make sure, do your research, and again, make people sign paperwork. Bro.
Right. So
stop playing.
So do you have any like moving forward? Because you know they gonna stalk you, they gonna hound you. I would. Like, are you offering any courses, any classes that reflect credit building? Like, do you have your own little credit university going on?
Right, so what I have currently is some ebooks. So I have a couple ebooks. So I have a credit builder ebook, right? So, you know, showing you how to add the positive accounts. And then I have a personal funding ebook. So showing you how to get $60,000 in personal credit in 90 days, right? So you have the credit builder, you know, build your credit. You have the personal credit ebook, and then you have the business credit ebook, you know, showing you how to build your credit score. So, you know, for somebody who may not have, you know, too much money, but, you know, still wants the information, you have the ebooks. Now I have my mentorship, you know, which pretty much for entrepreneurs, showing them how to get anywhere from 50 to 150K plus in credit in less than 100 days to accelerate the growth of their business.
That's fire. That's a big one. It's not a little one. It's wealthy kids. You heard?
I told you, it's big gems all day. Not even big gems. We gave you the diamond mine. So
I like that. Yo, Dom, you hear that?
That's how we do it, baby.
Hit him, DJ.
Question though, so a lot of people have questions on like, oh my gosh, now things went to collections. I got open reports. I got closed reports. Like, how do you like? When should somebody close an account on their credit history?
Ooh, that's a great question. So when should they close an account? Honestly, the only time they should close it is if they have like a Credit One, a First Premier, a Michelin Bank. So those are what I consider tier 4 credit. Okay. Right, which is the lowest on the credit scale. So those are store cards, you got First Premier, you got Credit One, stuff like that. I would recommend to close those cards because usually you have super low limits. They're not good cards. If I see somebody's report that has a Credit One, I'm almost 70% sure that they've had bad credit in the past because that's all they can get approved for. You know what I'm saying? So I would close those, but only if you have other cards that you've had for a couple years. So say, you know, when you were in college, you kind of messed up a little, you got a Credit One, you got a First Premier card, now you're 23, 24, now you have a Bank of America, you have a Chase, and you've had those for a couple years now. Now you can close the smaller cards and then start building on the bigger ones, right? But other than that, I really don't recommend you close anything.
Because a closed report is still going to show up on your account.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you'd rather have an open account that's reporting, because again, reporting is part of your history. A closed account, you can't do nothing on. So it's better to clean your credit than close your accounts.
Now, the only time a closed account is good is if it's paid off.
Right.
So if you had a paid off car loan.
If it's in a positive.
You feel me? So say, I don't know, you had a Capital One loan and it's paid off, and it was a car loan. That's going to show the banks that you were able to manage and, you know, properly handle this amount that we gave you. But if you have a closed account that has a late payment or a collection on it,
that's your negative.
You feel me? So collections don't fall off for 7 years. You know, some states it's 5, but you know, most of the time, like collection charge off, you know, don't fall off to 7 years. So you don't want to wait 7 years for something to fall off your report.
Yeah.
Right? So you either learn how to fix your credit yourself, or you can hire somebody like, you know, my company. I don't care who you go to, just fix your credit.
Right.
I don't care.
Because credit's so valuable.
You feel me?
Can collection accounts be removed? Or like, is that?
It can.
Yeah, collection accounts can be removed. It's easy. It's easy for me because I'm in the game, you know what I'm saying? But for somebody watching this, there's something called the pay for the lead, right? So you have people saying, listen, don't pay your collection, don't pay them, this and that.
Like that have the breakdown letters.
What do you mean?
Like the letters to have these collections removed.
Yeah, so those are the dispute letters. Yeah, so those are dispute letters. So that's what my company would use, to help out a client. But some people can do is say you have a collection for $50 and it's on your report. You can call that company and ask for a pay for the lead, meaning that if you pay it, they'll delete it off your credit report.
That's fine.
But before you do that, make sure you get it in writing. Yeah. Make sure you get it in writing. Because I'm telling you right now, from experience, these companies be like, pay us for $300, we good. And then it's still in your report, they get their money, and now you still got their collection. And you're $300 short.
Okay. You broke down a lot of, you spoke of a lot of tiers to beginners out there. Break down the tiers of credit. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4.
Yeah, that's a nice place to.
Yeah. So that's how you break down credit. So you have Tier 1 through 4. Tier 1 being the highest, 4 being the lowest. So you have for Tier 1 is the big 4. You have Chase, BOA, Citi, and Wells Fargo. Right. So those are your big 4. Now when it comes to Tier 2, those are like your regional banks. Your Capital One, Citizens, your key banks. You got Truist, PNC. Right. So those are your regional banks. Then third is your credit unions. Right? So you have Navy Federal, right? We mentioned a bunch of them, Penn Federal, DCU. And then fourth is the worst tier, your store cards, or, your First Premier, trash cards, stuff like that. So you really want to stay, within the first 3 tiers.
Okay.
Of course, we've all been in a situation, me included, where you're at Macy's. Here, apply for this card and get 20% off. I'm like, oh shit, 20% off.
Yeah.
And it got me with a store card, right? So, stay away from store cards. Focus on the bigger banks, the Chases, the Wells Fargo.
If you got them, pay them off. Yeah. Again, anything that's reporting positive to your core, your thing is better than not. So pay them off, keep them at zero balance. If you really want to throw some money on it, use it before the statement date. Get some reporting on your thing. But again, all good reports is good fucking healthy habits.
Right.
For sure.
And tell them where the fuck you find you at, because we done dropped so many gems, and if they don't find you, then that's their problem. So let them know where to find you at.
On the gram, I'm most active, Wealthy Cam with an underscore at the end. That's Wealthy Cam, right? The big one, not the little one. Then I'm also on Facebook a little bit. I'm on TikTok here and there. You can find me on Twitter too. I'm about to start getting super active on Twitter. Yeah. Getting my tweets on my Elon Musk on. So
just don't do too much Elon Musk.
Nah. Cause he be wilding.
He be wilding.
Y'all know how BJ feel about Elon.
Ain't no beef with him, but don't get them incels under your retweets, bro. Don't be supporting that. Be supporting real, true, healthy growth, healthy learning. Thank you for being here, bro.
For sure. I appreciate you guys
having me. He gave y'all $1 million worth of game, not for nothing.
Literally
you go to his page. I'm not gonna front. You're learning from his Instagram. Like
I drop hella
gems. Like he's big Cam, not the little one, gangsta. Another Making Moguls Monday. Like I'm not gonna front. Like this was an ill lineup. I'm not even gonna front. VJ, this was like the playoffs, and we taking the shit to the chip.
We eating. I'm telling you, we digging down. This is the second quarter now. We about to get in, we about to roll into summer. We about to roll into big season. Y'all we want to be outside.
You don't want to be outside. When I'm outside,
I'm outside with the bag. Okay, we outside running it up. We outside paying our statements, and we using other people's money to spend this the fuck up. And guess what? At the end of the year, we gonna write it the fuck off, because you either gonna win with us
or you watch us win, baby. Happy Monday. We outside. We inside. Grrr, bow. Love you to life, never to death.
Peace. Never to death, baby. It's a beautiful day.
I love that shit.
It's a great
that was